So good afternoon, and you are all very welcome to the Funding and Postgraduate Studies webinar. My name is Eilish, and I work with the Student Recruitment Office here at NUI Galway. This webinar will provide you with information on fees, funding and scholarships. Joining me online today is Valerie Leahy, NUI Galway's Postgraduate Officer. Valerie, you might give a wave. Colette Gill from NUI Galway's Fees Office. Colette, I'll ask you to give a wave. And Alan Newell from the Bank of Ireland. The format today is starting with 2 short presentations, and then we're going to have a live Q&A with the panel. Just some housekeeping. Your mics are automatically muted today, but please pop any questions into the chat function and we will answer the questions directly within the chat function, or I will put the questions to the panel a little bit later during the live Q&A. I'm now going to hand you over to Valerie Leahy, NUI Galway's Postgraduate Officer, who will deliver a short presentation on funding your postgraduate studies. Now, I'm going to ask my panel members if you can mute until Valerie is finished, if you don't mind. And Valerie, I'm going to ask you to share your screen for us.
Okay. Hopefully that's up now. Is that sharing okay?
That's great.
That. Okay, guys. Thanks, Eilish. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us this morning. This is, as Eilish introduced, going to be a short, kind of a general presentation on how to fund your postgrad studies. You're attending our open day, our virtual open day today, because hopefully you're interested in a postgraduate course with us. So this is going to give you the information about how do I pay for that course. So the main sources of funding for postgrads, basically, the majority of students are probably self-funded. You're probably paying for the postgrad course yourself. Students would tell me they're now kind of thinking about funding from maybe even second year onwards in their undergraduate course, so that they're trying to make a kind of a savings plan or think how they're going to fund that postgrad course. If you're based in Ireland, you may well get a postgraduate grant. You may receive a postgrad scholarship or a bursary to help fund your studies. There's specific funding available for research, so I'll touch on that in this presentation as well. Here in Ireland, the government have some initiatives available for postgrad support, so I'll mention those as well. More and more we see people returning to learn for taking a postgrad course later. They may be working, so often your employer may have a scheme to fund your postgrad studies, so that's something to look into as well. And I'll finish on education loans, and I know Alan, who's here as well, will take up that strand as well. So what do you have to budget for at postgraduate level? Well, at NUI Galway, you need to think about what your course fee is going to be, and that usually comprises obviously the tuition fees for the course plus a student levy. I think the student levy is €224 at this point in time. Colette can probably pop something in the chat if I'm incorrect there, but I think that's the amount at the moment. You also need to obviously think about maintenance costs. What is it going to cost you to keep yourself each month of your studies? So this graphic was provided to us by Student Services, and it just gives an idea of what costs in Galway might be like on a monthly basis. So you'd have to be budgeting for something like another maybe €1,000 to €1,200 per month to keep yourself during your studies. So what will your specific postgrad course cost at NUIG? Well, each of our courses has a web page, has its own specific web page, and on each individual course web page, it has a course fees tab on the left-hand side. So if you go to our courses page, click on the course you're interested in, on the left-hand side, you'll see a tab marked course fees, and the exact course fee will be listed there for your specific course. If you've already applied to us and been made an offer to one of our courses, the fees will be detailed in your offer or your offer letter as well. It's worth bearing in mind that fees may vary by course or by the college. For example, sometimes the lab-based, the science or the medical courses may be more expensive than a non-lab-based course. And there are different fee structures and different fee rates for EU students and for non-EU students. Further on course fees here at NUI Galway, the first instalment of your postgrad fees is paid by means of a deposit to secure your course. So if you're made an offer to one of our courses, you're asked to pay a non-refundable deposit. Usually it's about €500, and that comes off your fees then when you take up your place at a later point. So the first instalment is basically that €500 that's paid. You pay the remainder of your fees in 2 further instalments. The first will be at registration, which is usually August, September in the year, and then the balance would be payable in the second semester. It's worth noting as well that after you register as a postgrad student with us, you can apply to the fees office to look for a monthly payment plan if that better suits your finances, and that's something that would work for you. You can also claim tax relief in Ireland on tuition fees paid for some courses. So the Revenue Office website, revenue.ie, will give you the detail there. If you have any fees queries, I'd ask you to email them to fees@nuigalway.ie. And as Eilish introduced at the start, Colette from the fees office is in the panel, is in the chat room with us today, and she can take some specific fees queries in the chat after the presentations. So in Ireland as well, you may well be eligible for a grant at postgraduate level. SUSI are the National Grants Authority, and they are presenting at our open day today at 3:15 p.m. So if you check the open day schedule, you will be able to see you will be able to talk to SUSI, attend their presentation, and put specific grants questions to them. The SUSI grant system generally opens in April. You'd need to check the SUSI website for details and of when it closes. And in general, postgrad grants cover a portion of fees only, and they don't provide for maintenance grant. The maximum that I think our students, postgraduate grant holders, receive is just over €6,000, and the majority of our grant holders receive about €2,000 in a fee contribution. I think that's going up in the most recent budget to about 3,500, which is good news for our postgrad students. The SUSI have a really good function on their website, a piece of software, an eligibility reckoner. So if you check that out on their website, you'll see if you're likely to receive a grant. You can fill in your own details, and it'll show you if you in advance whether you may be eligible to get a postgrad grant from them. So that's a really useful tool to look at in advance. Something worth noting as well about grants and postgrad is that in general you need to be moving up to be grant eligible. So what that means in Ireland is all our courses fall under the National Framework of Qualifications. So if you've done, for example, an undergrad degree, an honours undergrad degree, that would be a level 8 course. And to be eligible, if you got a grant at level 8, you need to be moving up a level at postgraduate level, going to say to a level 9, which is a postgrad diploma, or a master's, which is also a level 9. If you chose a postgrad level to take a higher diploma, that's a level 8. So you wouldn't get a grant for a level 8 course because you already got grant aid at level 8 for your undergrad. So I hope that makes sense. And again, if you're attending the SUSI webinar at 3:15, they can go into more detail for you on that aspect. But just worth bearing in mind, you need to be moving up a level to be grant eligible. I want to touch then on our scholarship schemes. Our flagship scheme is our Taught Masters scholarship scheme. This is for EU students, and it's for those who have first-class honours in their undergraduate degree. We reward your excellence. It's a merit-based scholarship, and you'll get €1,500 off your fees if you are embarking on a full-time Masters at NUI Galway, presenting with a 1-1, a first-class honours or equivalent degree in your undergraduate qualification. So our postgraduate scholarships website has all the detail and the criteria for that scheme. Other types of schemes that we have available then, they may be course or college or school specific, and they may vary in terms of the scholarship amount awarded. Some of our schemes will award full fees, some will give you a partial amount towards your fees. Again, these are all listed on our postgraduate scholarships website. I'll pop that URL into the chat later so you can grab it. And most of the scholarships that I'm just mentioning here are for EU students. Our international office has information on scholarships for international non-EU students, and this website here at the bottom details those. It describes what there is available for international student scholarships, and also information on federal aid. Again, our international office has a help desk running from 1 o'clock to 3 today as part of the virtual open day. So you can pop into that international office live Q&A to pose questions to them about their specific international scholarships. Looking at research funding, our Dean of Graduate Studies, Professor Donal Leach, is presenting at 1 o'clock today on funding your PhD. So you'd be well worth popping into that after this presentation if you're interested in research funding. He'll be talking there about our flagship scholarship scheme for PhDs, the Hardeman Scholarship Scheme. So you can listen to his webinar for more information on that, or check out our website. Our researchers may well have secured funding to fund a research student. So we publish those opportunities generally on our social media channels, and they may be listed on our research scholarships website as well. The Irish Research Council is kind of a must visit as well if you're thinking about research and looking for funding for your research studies. So I'd advise you to check out their website for their funding opportunities too. And in Ireland, we have some government-funded initiatives. So these are the main ones that are running. The government has a graduate skills conversion programme. So there is some funding available. So for example, if you're moving out of something like having had an arts qualification and you want to convert into something like technology, there may be some funding available for you for that conversion aspect. Their website will give you the details, the HEA website. We also have now in Ireland the SkillNet programme, and we have some courses that are partially funded via that scheme. So at the moment, I think in NUIG, our online artificial intelligence programme has some partial funding via SkillNet, as does some of our medtech programmes. So again, skillnetireland.ie has the detail of those courses. The ones that you're probably most familiar with are the Springboard schemes. They're long-running schemes, and this year they've had another aspect to them called the HCI Pillar 1 initiative, and we had a number of courses funded, particularly in business, under the HCI pillar this year. So if you check out springboardcourses.ie, you'll see the listing of the reduced fee courses that are running nationally and in NUI Galway and at postgrad level, so they're well worth checking out. The other thing to bear in mind as well, it's becoming more and more the norm, is that people are returning to learn. I think about 50% of our postgrads are coming back into postgrad education. So they may well be working and they're looking to upskill. So they're talking to their employers about further education schemes that may be available. These are definite sort of a win-win because they're aiding employee retention and recruitment. People are more interested in working for a company that offers good training opportunities. Again, it's good for the company because team members are becoming upskilled with new qualifications, and it obviously will boost morale if you get a postgraduate qualification that's funded by your company. So I'd advise you to talk to your employer or your HR department if you're currently working to see if they would be willing to fund or partially fund you at postgrad level. You may be able to take on a work project as part of your postgrad coursework. You will be probably doing some kind of a research thesis or a project within your postgrad course. So you could talk to the course director about taking on maybe a real life, a real work-based problem to solve in that research project, that you can bring that learning back to your employer then. So it's also something then that's obviously of interest to your employer to want to fund your studies if you can offer that aspect as well when looking for funding. And looking at then about spreading the cost and education loans. I mentioned earlier you can pay your fee in instalments, which will help you spread the overall cost. You can consider a part-time programme so that you can be working and learning and earning to pay for that study while you're still working. We do offer a range of part-time courses, and we offer online and blended. Those are the online courses are listed on our website, and I have here, we have our postgraduate prospectus, which is available online. So that has detail of all of our postgraduate programs within that as well. The other aspect that's becoming very much the norm for our students is taking out an education loan to fund their masters. Most of the financial institutions will offer you have education loans on offer, and they may offer a preferential interest rate, or a deferred payment term. So what that can mean is that you may get a loan to fund your studies but not have to pay it back until you're out in the workplace working. So I'd advise you in that regard to talk to your local bank or to talk to the credit union. And as Eilish mentioned, we have Alan Newell from our on-campus student branch of Bank of Ireland in the chat today, and he's going to talk to you shortly after myself and give you more detail about the Bank of Ireland offerings in this regard. So I suppose I just want to kind of end on saying that postgraduate study is, can be an expensive financial endeavour, but it is about investing in you and investing in your future. All of our studies and research shows that with a postgraduate qualification, you're going to see returns in terms of career promotion, career progression, and especially in net lifetime earnings gains. You can expect to earn a lot more over your lifetime once you have a postgraduate qualification. So while it may be something you obviously have to think about and look to how you're going to fund your studies, it is about an investment in you, an investment in your future. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. I wish you the best of luck with your postgrad studies and with your postgrad funding endeavours. If you have any questions that you want to take offline and pose to me about funding, you can email me at postgrad@nuigalway.ie. And obviously I'm here to take questions in the chat and after the presentations as well this morning. So thanks again for your attention.
Thank you, Valerie. That's fantastic for that very informative presentation. Now, if you have any questions, I'm asking you just to pop them into the chat for now, and we will address them after our short presentation. So I'm now going to hand you over to Alan Newell from the Bank of Ireland, who we're delighted to have with us today, who's going to give a short presentation on postgraduate loans. Now, if you bear with me, I'm going to share my screen for you, Alan.
Thanks.
Technology. Now. Now, can you see that, Alan?
Yep, can do that.
So you just shout, want me to move a slide.
Yeah, perfect. You can actually move along there. So super. So listen, thanks Emmanuel, Eilish, and thanks Valerie, and thanks very much for allowing the Bank of Ireland to be part of this webinar today. Certainly a very important line to us in the college branch and the postgraduate loan. And we do see a lot of candidates coming through, even though we're actually closed at the moment, but we're still seeing a lot of traffic on the postgraduate loan. So look, the postgraduate loan is available obviously to postgraduate students. The max that students can borrow is €14,000. Okay, so that is the maximum amount that a student can borrow. Okay, and that is sorry, that's is that the Head Start loan? What you see there in front of you is a student loan. Okay, so there's actually two options available to students. You can go for the Head Start loan, the generic Head Start loan, which you can see there from your screens is a 5% APR. You can borrow up to 5,000 over a 5-year period. With the Head Start loan, there is no deferrals in place. Okay, the Head Starts can apply to postgrad students on the basis that they want to begin paying back their loan immediately. But by and large, the Head Start loan, what is there in front of you, is usually for the undergrad student. But we do get postgrad students that do take this option simply because they want to start paying the loan immediately and get their educational loans cleared as quickly as possible. This loan in itself, you can borrow, as I said, up to 5,000, and it is unsecured, meaning that you don't have to have a guarantor in place. Okay, so again, it's a 5% APR. You can borrow up to 5,000 with a loan term of 5 years, and you can defer the first 3 months on the repayments of the loan. Okay, again, no guarantor required. So it can suit some postgrad students, but the main postgrad loan we have does have that deferral of a 12-month. So if you can move it on there, Eilish. Okay, so this is the main postgrad loan that we would have for, I'm going to say 95% of the students that would come into us. Okay, so as I said there, you can borrow up to 14,000. Okay, it's a variable rate of 5.6 APR, and the loan itself, how it is structured is it's a 16-month loan, which is 5 years with a 12-month deferral in place. Okay, so whilst you're studying, you are not required to pay it back, okay, for a full year. And that's why we see a lot of, I'm going to say, non-bank students that wouldn't have a bank account with us coming and looking at this loan, okay? Essentially, the loan is designed to cover fees, but it does incorporate, they have incorporated other areas. So rent is a big problem, I suppose, and has been for maybe the last year to 2 years. So it does incorporate rent, accommodation. It does incorporate course materials, laptop, computer. It does incorporate Erasmus. Okay, but majority of the students that are presenting to us in branch looking to avail of a postgrad loan at the Bank of Ireland, it would be for their fees and maybe some of it for their rent as well. Okay, it does require a guarantor. Okay, so a guarantor, majority of the time it is a parent, but it can be a family member. So it can be a sibling, it can be an aunt or uncle, or it can be a grandparent. Just the criteria that the guarantor has to meet is that they have to be in receipt of income. Okay. The postgrad loan essentially is only available to 1 year full-time students, okay, and studying within the Republic of Ireland. We do not, unfortunately, we do not lend to postgrads outside the Republic of Ireland. So it is available to 1 year full-time. That's the majority of the traffic that we see there. Students that are taking this loan or applying for this loan, they're 1 year full-time students. We do get scenarios where students are on a 2-year course and they're looking for their fees, looking for a loan for their fees. What we would advise here is that in year 2 that they look at the fees or look at the loan, simply because of the deferral, and that's the, I suppose that's the crux of the loan. Essentially, the deferral is the most important piece, that whilst you're in your studies, and especially if it's a 2-year course, final year being probably your most important year, and you'll be probably busiest, that you're actually not paying back a loan. Do you want to just again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but this is, there's the option then, a third option is a student credit card. We essentially don't see an awful lot of take up on this, but it is an option. Again, you can apply for a credit limit of 500 in first year, second year, and up to 1,000. It's rare that we would see students going with this option, but it is an option. The student credit card maybe was best used when students were going on J1s, and once they were finished with their J1, they clear off the credit card and effectively cut it up. But the credit card can be an option. Again, if it's something that anyone on this webinar here today will be interested in, I can certainly discuss it with you. But predominantly, if it's for postgrad, I'd be steering you towards the postgrad loan or the Head Start loan. Yeah, can you just move on there again, Eilish, please? I think we're near the end now. Yeah, so essentially that's my presentation. It's only a 4-slide presentation. Again, just to recap, the postgrad loan, the main loan that we'd have, it's up to 14,000 with 5.6 APR interest rate. It's over a 60-month period with a 1 year, 12-month deferral in place. If you are borrowing over €3,000, you do have to get a guarantor. The other option that is available to students is the generic, just the Head Start, what we call Head Start loan, where you can borrow up to €5,000. over a 60-month period at a 5% APR. There is no guarantor or security required, so you just applying for it solely by yourself, and you can start repayments immediately, or if you want to get a deferral on that loan, you can apply for a 3 months deferral. The first 3 months can be deferred. Again, I don't have my email on that presentation, but my email is alan@boi.com. If you have any queries or questions, please drop me a line. As I said at the beginning, the postgrad area for us here in the Bank of Ireland is very important, and we'd certainly love to assist students in any queries that they have. Okay, thanks a million.
Thanks a million, Alan, for providing that detail within your presentation. We'll just go to the chat function now, and I'm going to ask my panel members to unmute. And the first question, Alan, I might put to yourself is, how long, and Karina asked this question, how long does it take for a loan application to
approved? Okay. Yeah, magic question for myself too. Essentially, Eilish, it would come down to time of year. Okay, so obviously September is a crazy time of year with traffic for student loans. This year, obviously, it's been a bit lighter in a sense. So traffic-wise, to answer your question, traffic is the main criteria that would be based on the length of time that it would be with a lender. Effectively, if I'm sending a loan, and I would like to think that somewhere between 7 to 10 working days, okay, on a normal basis. So by the time that we've all the documentation received, we're still, unfortunately, with the postgraduate loan, it's still a paper-based application. So we still have to receive all the docs, and we have to receive all the original documentation. Based all over the country, and we're getting things posted and things like that. But essentially, I would somewhere between 5 and 10 working days. Again, look, when I'm putting applications together, they're once they go up to Linden, there should be no issue with them in a sense of documentation wise. You know, obviously then the checks are gone through once it goes to Linden, but I would be saying somewhere between 5 and 10 working days. With an answer, you'd be hoping to have an answer after 5, and then once hopefully the loan is approved, getting their credit agreements issued to the student so they can draw down their loan. Okay.
That's perfect. Lovely. Thank you, Alan. I might put this question to you. At what point does that €500, or Valerie, this could be a question for you, at what point does the €500 fee have to be paid? Like once you get your offer, how long do you have to decide and then pay for the €500 or pay the €500?
Valerie, would you like to answer that? It's with postgrad admissions.
Yeah. No problem. To my knowledge, you have 10 working days in which to accept the offer and pay the deposit. Again, I would agree with Colette. It's in a postgraduate admissions question. Postgraduate admissions are running a help desk this afternoon from 1 to 3. So I might pop the link for that into the chat here. So whomever posed that question, if they want to put that to admissions, my recollection or understanding is it's 10 working days, but in case I'm giving some misinformation, you may want to confirm it with postgrad admissions, and I'll pop that in the chat now, the link to their live Q&A at 1 o'clock.
Thank you, Valerie. And I think this is another question for you, Valerie. Is anyone who got a 1-1 in their undergraduate degree eligible for the scholarship? It's that particular scheme that I mentioned in the presentation is for EU students. So yes, if you have a 1-1 or equivalent, a first class honours undergraduate degree, you're automatically eligible. And I suppose something that people often ask as well is, does that have to be like a recent degree, or if I graduated 10 or 15 years ago, you know, am I still eligible? And yes is the answer there. So yes, once you have a first class honours qualification, you'll be eligible for that scheme. You do have to apply for it separately, and there's an online application system for it that opens in April annually. So if you keep an eye on our postgraduate scholarships website, the link for it will go live there in April generally each year. Okay, and the second part of that question, Valerie, is it possible to get both the scholarship and apply for the SUSI grant?
Yes, yes. On the postgraduate scholarships website that I mentioned, and I've popped the link for it into the chat as well, the criteria for that scholarship scheme is up there. And within that, you'll see that what happens is if somebody gets, in general, the €1,500 that people get in that 1-1 scholarship, it comes off their fees. But for people who are grant holders, who are SUSI grant holders, they may get that scholarship in the form of a cheque. So it is available you can avail of both SUSI and that grant if you have your first class honour.
Okay, thank you, Valerie. Colette, I'm going to put a question to yourself, and this is curious on my part, but what happens if you don't pay on time? I'm sure this is a question that plenty of students will be asking.
It's funny because we're actually coming up to our fee payment deadline of the 30th of November, and we've had a number of emails from students saying that they're going to be kicked out of their programme. Now, we would never do such a thing. If you don't pay on time, so in 2021, the first instalment will be due by the 31st of October. The next instalment will be due by the 31st of January. If you don't pay on time, we apply a late payment penalty to the record of €200, which is payable in addition to whatever payment is out there. But what we would encourage students to do is engage with us at the outset, pay their student levy of €224 and apply for a payment plan where you can spread the payment over the duration of your programme, so you don't have a 50% payment due at the end of October. That means if you have a payment plan and you're adhering to the payment plan, you won't be charged a late fee. So we're all very reasonable with our students as long as they engage with us. That's the most important thing.
Thank you, Colette. That's fantastic. Alan, this could be a question for you, I think. If you have a buy-to-let mortgage, can you get help in returning to do a postgraduate course? Now, this is something you may want to take offline, but I'm not sure if you can give even some guidance to this.
So a buy-to-let mortgage, and they're just wondering if they can apply for a postgraduate loan.
I presume so, yes. It says
absolutely, yeah. We have many students, and they are students, that have mortgages, that are possibly maybe even working, that are paying their mortgage back. Absolutely. The criteria essentially that you have to meet to get or be able to apply for the postgraduate loan is you have to be a full-time third level student. So essentially, if you're in a course that's full-time education, your account, your physical bank account has to mirror the same. So you're applying for a third level product in the Postgrad Loan. Essentially, we just have to change your account back to a third level, and yeah, you can apply for it. Essentially, I suppose the Postgrad Loan is there is a guarantor in place as well, like, you know. So if maybe that student is worried how will the mortgage be paid or things like that, that's the questions that will be asked, but I'm sure that's already covered off before any education decisions are made. So absolutely, I only did a loan last week where there was a mortgage involved, and that was one of the first questions, and the payment was being made between himself and his wife. So yeah, absolutely is the answer. Certainly can apply for a loan with the mortgage, no problem.
Great, thanks, Alan.
No problem.
I think this is actually another question for you, Alan. So this comes in from Emma, and she's asked, if I'm doing a 2-year master's, can I apply for the deferred loan in my second year, or am I unable to avail of it completely?
Okay, so 2-year courses. Obviously, the Postgrad loan it's designed for 1-year courses. What we would be advising in that regard is, if they're looking for lending for 2 years, you would apply for the Head Start loan first. Okay, so you're applying for essentially 2 different loans. So in year 1, you could apply for 5,000. The max on that is 5,000. Okay, and defer the payments for 3 months, but then you will be paying the loan back after that. Then in year 2, you apply for your Postgrad loan, and what you're deferring you're deferring the loan then on that for 12 months. Unfortunately, you can't top up a postgrad loan. Okay, so it's designed for the 1-year courses, but we do get cases where there are 2-year courses that they're applying for. They're studying 2-year courses. Our advice in that regard would be apply for the postgrad loan in year 2 and have the deferred payment in year 2 where you're in final year and possibly at your busiest. But if they're looking for lending in year 1 also, we would be advising them to look at the undergrad, the Head Start loan that I spoke at the beginning of my presentation. That doesn't require a guarantor. There's a maximum of, you can borrow up to a maximum of $5,000, and there's a deferred repayment option of 3 months. Okay, so to answer your question, yeah, year 2 we would be seeing the postgrad loan would kick. We would be advising to look at year 2.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much.
Is that okay?
That's perfect. Valerie, I might put this question to yourself. This is coming from Georgina. Is it possible to apply for the 1-1 scholarship if you've not graduated from your undergraduate degree yet, but if you're on track for a 1-1?
It is, as I mentioned, the scholarship, the application system would open in April, but ultimately you'd have to provide then your transcript with your final year results to admissions to show them that you got that 1-1 result. So you can of course, yes, you can apply for it while you're on a track for a 1-1, and then ultimately they will come back to you and ask you for your final transcript. Eilish, I saw a couple more questions coming in on the 1-1. Is it okay if I address them as well? I might just fire. Somebody was asking, I think it was Kirsty, about the US, what was the equivalent to a 1-1. This particular scheme, Kirsty, is for EU students only, it wouldn't be eligible for students from the US. So I actually don't know what the equivalent is, but if you talk to, I've put it in the chat there, our international office can talk to you about their scholarship schemes, and they may have something quite similar. So I can't really go further than that, Kirsty, but just to say that it's for EU students only. Somebody asked there as well in the chat, is there a specific number of scholarships that are awarded to people in that scheme? And no, there isn't. Anyone presenting who's eligible, who's an EU student going on to a full-time taught master's, who's applied via the application system in April, and meets all the criteria, would be awarded the 1,500 from their fees. I think one other lady, I think it was Mairead, asked about, was it eligible for HDIP students, those applying for HDIP? No, I'm afraid not, Mairead. It's for full-time taught master's programs, that particular scheme only. Thanks, Eilish.
Thank you, Valerie. That's fantastic. I think we've answered most of the questions in the chat. There's one here from Anya, and I think, Alan, this is directed at you. Do you have to meet certain criteria to obtain the payment plan? I presume this is of a loan. That's all that she's asked.
So, no, the product itself, the actual loan, the postgraduate loan, is you can borrow up to 14 over the 16 months with the deferral of the 12 months. So anybody wishing to ascertain or take out a loan, that is the loan. So the 12 months are built into it. If students want to make payments on that loan, they certainly can. They can add it to their online banking and make what we call ad hoc payments. Essentially, what that is doing is they're bringing down their balance, their capital balance, and they're paying less interest. So if the payment 60 months with a 12-month deferral, that's a full payment in of 48 months. But if they want to start making payments early, they certainly can. They can make what we call ad hoc payments. Just add the loan to their online banking and transfer funds across from their current account. Be they AIB, be they Ulster Bank, be they permanent TSB, they certainly can add that loan to their online banking and make payments. In turn, bringing down the interest that they're going to be paying over the duration of the loan.
Thank you, Alan. And I just want to know, I suppose there's a lot of international questions here taking place today, and just to remind you all that there is a lecture taking place. I'm not sure if it's finished now, but they have a live Q&A between 1 and 3 today on the international website, or the live Q&A. I think we've answered all of our questions. I'm not sure, Valerie, Colette or Alan, if you'd like to have any finishing advice to our students that have joined us here today.
I was just actually popping something in the chat there, Ailish, to responding again to Mairead. I misunderstood her question. So Mairead, I popped a response in the chat. That particular scheme that I've been mentioning that we've had a lot of queries on, the first class taught master scholarship scheme, it's administered by our admissions office. So I'm going to there, as I mentioned, they have a help desk running from 1 to 3. So if you have specific questions about the scheme, they're the best experts to go into the nitty-gritty about the scheme, to chat to them there, and I'll pop their email into the chat as well. So Mairead, sorry if I misunderstood, and I hope that you can chat to admissions to get, or take it offline with me as well, Mairead, and I'll find out for you. Thanks.
Thank you, Valerie. And Colette, I might get you to come in there, use your hand raised.
No, I think the important thing for any student is just to engage with us and keep in touch. A lot of the times we find that students who start in September would have had a fee issue maybe the previous January. So now is the time to come and ask the question of us, and if we can help in any way. Sometimes September can be a little bit manic with registration taking place. August, September and October are usually very busy, but the important thing is just to engage with us.
Thank you. That's great advice, Colette. And I might get you just to pop the fees, maybe email address into the chat function for the students if they'd like information. Now, just one more question is coming here, and this is coming in from Claire, and she's an older graduated returning to education from work. I have no idea about funding for doing a master's. Are there any options for me? Are there simply 1-1 scholarships that are available? So Valerie, I think I might address this with you. You're on mute there, Valerie.
Sorry, Claire, I'm just popping into the chat there the link for our overarching postgraduate scholarships webpage. So any scholarships that we're aware of, we put the detail in there. So that's the within my own presentation, I'd mentioned that that's a good site to kind of bookmark or visit often, because anything we're aware of, we add in the detail there. So there are some other schemes other than that Taught Masters one that I've mentioned. So that's the portal for you to check about anything that we're aware of. So I hope that helps, and we hope to welcome you back to return to learn to education, Claire.
Thank you very much, Valerie. And just to mention, I suppose, if you have registered for the Postgrad Open Day today, you'll be emailed and notified in relation to the recordings of all of our presentations or webinars today, and that has come up quite frequently. So I'd just like to say thank you all very much for attending our webinar today, and best of luck in the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, panel. Thank you, Ailish.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.